everyone. So next topic we would be discussing my favorite, which is the perform integrated change control process. And why I call this as my favorite among this knowledge area, not not in the entire 49 processes, is basically you will get tons of questions on this, tons of questions. When I say tons of questions, you can say I don't have a fixed number, but still close to 20 questions, I would say. Perform integrated change control. So what is this? What is this process all about? This is the process which assess and decide upon all changes. What you will do when there is a change request. What is the process of doing or dealing with that change request? This is it's all about. So first of all, the process group is monitoring and control. So this is like the second process in this particular process group. The first we did the monitoring and control project work, and this is the second one. The integrated portion of the name is due to its bringing together all other monitoring and controlling processes. So why we have given the name integrated? Why the PMI has given this word integrated? First of all, it's part of integration management knowledge area. Secondly, the change request can come from anywhere. It can come from scope, it can come from time, it can be cost related change, it could be quality related change. So change requests can come from anywhere, like, right? And basically you might have an impact on those changes on many of the different factors. So what is the process? So first of all, whenever there is a change request, whenever the customer asks for a change request, you start with the the preliminary impact analysis. So the PM does the preliminary impact analysis, find out, okay, what is, how much it should impact and things, like at a very high and a basic level. Once that is done, and that information is given to the customer, they are okay, they are fine, then it goes to the CCB stage, where a change control board, a group of folks, a group of people, of course customer or sponsor can be part of it, will decide upon those changes, which probably they would do a detailed impact analysis, and more importantly on the triple constraint triangle, if you remember, the scope, cost and time. And finally, based upon that, they will take a decision whether to to approve or reject the change. And finally, once the decision is taken, you will move ahead and update your change log and some other documents if required. And probably at the same time, you'll probably communicate to the requester of that change and other stakeholders as well, whatever the decision is. So the decision's approval for change request occurs in this process. So approval, or I would say not just approval, I would also say the rejections can also take place, right? So but of course the word is the decision over here, that decision would be taken. Impact analysis, the project impact of the change request is assessed before the approval. So we live in some kind of society, I would say, in some kind of environment where many folks things like customer is God. Whatever customer is asking, we have to do it. But this is not really true. This is like we should say no to the customer if you think it's not really possible. So again, make sure, do the impact analysis, assess it, give it to the customer. If everything is good, if they are willing to pay more and or wait for more time, then yes, of course, approve it, right? And of course, if you have the bandwidth. Then CCB, it's a change control board, might be used to review the change request with the authority to make approvals varying among organization. So first of all, I've written might be used. Not all the organizations have CCB. Few have, and if they have, the power depends upon what type of organization you are. Okay, so this is an important slide. I want to make sure that you understand the process flow. So before I go into the ITTOs, which to be honest are not that important, this is important based upon the understanding of how the things are done. So once this process flow is done, and the another one is also the difference between the configuration management and change management, so that these two are very important topics and we'll discuss in much detail. So how this process works. So First of all, we identify. So a change request is identified. So assume that there is a customer who reached out to you and asked for a change request. Okay, so you will say that, okay, if that is the type, go ahead and document that. So first is the documentation process, which is the in the form of change control form. Change control form. So first you identify. Once it is identified, next step is the to document it, which is document the CR through the change request form. So you'll use the CCF to document that change request. Once it is documented, then you will do the impact analysis as per the triple constraint triangle. Remember, scope, cost, time, which says that one change, one particular change might result into at least the other two. One, like, what do I mean by that is, like, if for example, if it's a scope related change, okay, the customer wants to add more features to their product. So what impact it will have on the other two legs, what impact it will have on the cost, what impact it will have on the time. So similarly, I can say that, okay, if you want to add more features, yes, it is possible, but it will cost you more. If you want to make sure that it is done within that time frame which you have already given to us, because I might have to add more resources, I might have to do some kind of knowledge transfer. If I'm adding more resources, it may increase the cost as well, right? Similarly, if customer says that, I don't care about the time, you can extend your timeline, but I want to make sure that the cost remains intact. So I said, okay, we can probably think around those challenges as well. So again, the CCB, the Change Control Board, would make sure they will do the impact analysis, they will review it, and based upon that, they will take a decision to approve or reject that change. So first, the preliminary impact analysis is actually done by the project manager or the team, and then it is the detailed impact analysis is actually done by the CCB team. So once you have reviewed, then the next step is to track. Just make sure that you first of all implement that change request. And once it is implemented, you as a project manager need to make sure that you properly monitor and control it. Now you can understand that why this approved change request from this process actually went and became a input to the monitor and control project work. And once everything is good, you probably have to communicate also to the requester of that change. Once you have to communicate, you might also have to update the change. Not might, you actually have to update the change log. So change log is more like a document which states that, okay, this was the change which was requested by this person on this date and time, and this was the decision. And probably you might have some impact analysis information also. It depends from organization to organization. Okay, remember this change control process, the change process flow is very important. So make sure you make good notes, you have a clear understanding of this particular topic. And again, don't forget to practice questions on the website. You will get a lot of questions. As I know that this is an important concept, I have given many questions on the website specifically talking about the change control process. The website, I'm pretty sure you still have, you are familiar with the website name. It's www.eduhubspot.com. Okay, so now let's discuss the ITTOs of this process. I'm not saying ITTOs are not important, they are equally important, but basically the process flow, the understanding, the concept building is very important for this process. So first we will start with the project management plan, which will have change, configuration, scope, baseline, schedule, and cost. So the triple constraint pieces, and of course the change and configuration management plan are part of the project management plan. As far as the document is concerned, the basis of estimates, requirement traceability matrix, and risk report are also part of it. Work performance report, you want to make sure that if you remember, status report is one of the example of work performance report. If you see closely, if there is any change request, you can see that there is an option where it says, okay, change request, yes, what is the decision, approve, no, what was the impact, and like a very high level information might be given in the work performance report. So that's why you are seeing that as an input. Of course, you will have a change request. Until unless you have a change request, why would you even do this process? So this is like one of the most important process for this. E, F, O, P are the common ones. So let's discuss these inputs in detail. But prior to discussing these inputs in detail, I want to make sure that you understand the difference between configuration and change management. So a lot of people actually reached out to me to explain in detail the difference between configuration management and the change management. So I tried to explain in a pretty simple and simple language. Just think of an example that you want to manufacture a phone. If you want to manufacture a phone, then you probably might talk about the features of that. Okay, so you probably plan that I want to manufacture this phone, and the size of that phone, like the camera, is actually 5 megapixel. But then after a while, you said that 5 megapixel is pretty less. I should move it to 12 megapixel. So you moved it to the 12 megapixel. So when you're doing all of those things, that is actually the configuration manager. It says this is focused on change in the specification of the specification of both deliverables as well as the processes. So what I'm doing, I'm talking about a change from 5 megapixel to 12 megapixel. So I'm actually talking about the specification of that phone, right? The feature of that phone. So that is configuration management for you. On the opposite side, what change management is, this is more focused on identifying, documenting, approving or rejecting the changes to those documents. So it's more of a process oriented, and this is more where you are actually changing it. Like for example, the same example of making the phone from 5 megapixel to 12 megapixel. What will be the impact? Like for example, will it cost me some $10,000 extra budget? So all of those things, right? Any change where any baseline or any other information is affected, that's more of a change management plan. So configuration management, where you are really talking about the specifications and features, and change management is more like how you will do, what would be the impact analysis, are you approving it, what is the process behind it. In the change management, you will also see three subcomponents. First is the identifying of the configuration item. Like, what do you want to change? Like in this case, it was the camera, right? So camera would be a perfect example in the identify configuration item piece. Then once you identify, next is about record and report the configuration item status. Again, your stakeholders are all about what is the status, how much have you done, will it take 2 months, 3 months, 2 days, 5 days, all of those. So again, you have to record that, and again you have to report. It's your job as a project manager to communicate effectively to the stakeholders, and specifically to the person who has actually requested that change. So first you identify, then you record, and finally you do the verification and the audit. You want to make sure that whatever, like for example, if I talked about 12 megapixel, did you do it to 12 or did you do it to 11 or did you do to 10? You as a project manager have to audit that. You have to monitor it. So all those. So first is identify, record and communicate, and finally you have to verify and audit as well. Okay, so let's talk about the inputs in much more detail. So first, in the project management plan, we have the change management plan and the configuration management plan. As I explained before, change management plan is all about the specification. Oh, sorry, the configuration management plan is all about the specification. Change management plan, on the other hand, is like how much it will impact, what is the approval or rejection, what is the process behind it. Then you will, as I told you, it's all about the triple constraint triangle. So you will see the scope baseline, schedule baseline, and the cost baseline as an input, as a part of the project management plan. As far as documents are concerned, we'll get the basis of estimate, something which we would be discussing in much more detail in the cost management knowledge area. Requirements traceability matrix, like how one requirement is traced back to the origin, or how it meets the business objectives, how it meets the test cases, all those things, right? They are one of the biggest contributors to the change request. So you want to make sure that as an input. Risk report, of course, changes are risky. Your project might be delayed by 2 months or 6 months or a year. That's not good, right? You don't want to do that. So again, but you want to make sure that you are accounting for all of those risks as well. So that's an input here. Work performance report, it's a common output as I discussed. Work performance data gets converted into info gets converted into the report. So yeah, an example of report, it would be like a status report where you are mentioning about the change request and the status. Of course, you will get the change request as an input. Like, this is where you're working on. So like my change request was change the camera specification from 5 megapixel to 12 megapixel. So that was my change request. So that is something which we are talking about here. Then of course we have the EEF and the OPA, the enterprise environmental factors and the organizational process assets. Tools and technique, it's tools and techniques. We always have an expert judgment as a common tool. Like we need an expert who can tell us what the process is. Like the way I explained you, that's how a change control process might happen in your company, or based upon your organization or to organization, you might change it, you might tweak a little bit as well. So that's expert judgment. You need somebody's help who can help you to explain the process and follow the process accordingly. As far as the data analysis is concerned, this is further divided into alternative analysis and the cost benefit analysis. So alternative analysis we will be discussing in resource, like thinking about all the alternatives. If you issued a change request and then you want to think about all the alternatives which can save you time, which can save you money also. And basically you will have a cost benefit analysis, doing a comparison of making sure that okay, benefit should always be greater than the cost. That's your end goal. You want to do that, right? So that is another tool. As far as decision making is concerned, we already talked about the voting, like at a very high level, in detail level, we talked in the scope management knowledge area. But voting about majority, or unanimity, those are voting techniques. We also have the autocratic decision making, which means like a one person is taking the decision for others. Like this happens when the project is really very important, or you have a very powerful stakeholders who want to make sure that his or her things are getting done on time. So that's autocratic. Multi-criteria decision analysis, we'll be discussing this in detail in the quality management. But as the name suggests, it says multi-criteria decision. So, in order to take a decision, there could be multiple criteria. Like for example, why did you even select this course? Well, what was the reason behind it? That's an example of multiple criteria. You might have felt that this is good, this is something which I could relate to more, and this is something which will make sure, which is something which is recommended by my friends. All of those are good. So these are the multiple criteria which made sure that you take this course, right? So similarly for the change request process, you need the multi-criteria decision analysis as well. Of course, you will have the meetings, every time, and the change control tools. The both manual and automated tools are used as a part of. So not just the process which I explained, that is more like a manual, but some we have also automated tools which are actually used to take care of the change requests. Like I would actually talk about like a very pretty basic tool which all of you might have used is the your Microsoft Word. Over there is an option to track the changes. So track changes is one of the options. So it's actually one of the good way to track changes. That's good. That's a change control tool. And I don't know if you are from IT world, you might know about the tool Jira, Jira. So like I have heavily used Jira in the past, and Jira was one of the tools where you can actually track changes as well. A good one. So as far as the outputs is concerned, first we have the approved change request. Um, or basically it should not be approved, to be honest. I believe it should be like some kind of decision. It could be approved as well as it could be rejected. So it depends. Based upon whatever the decision would be, the first thing you'll probably do is update the log, update the change control log. And similarly you will also update the project management plan. One thing you need to keep in mind is that this process which I explained to you is formally done only after your baseline is established. Until and unless your baseline is established, you can probably tweak around, you can ask, like customer can ask around for changes, and all those things can happen. But once your baseline is established, you want to make sure that you follow this proper process. And for exam perspective, just think that you should always do the process, like go through the CCV process which I explained. um, uh, you'll get a lot of questions and you want to make sure you do it correctly. Okay, let's do a quick revision. So focus on assessing the impact and approving, rejecting the change request. Like basically focus on the triple constraint triangle. That's very important. So triple constraint triangle: scope, cost, time. One leg would have at least effect on the other, one of the other two. Know that the change may be how the work is being done or what work is being done. So definitely you can talk about the preventive actions you are taking or the corrective actions. So that's important here. Know that all monitoring control process are brought together by the integration. So the word integrated, it's specifically given. Why? Because change can come from anywhere, and you want to make sure you are controlling it, you're monitoring it, and you're doing the proper process. Then irrespective of the decision, the change log will always be updated. So whether you are approving it or you are rejecting it, this is an important topic which you need to make sure of.